Okay, so it is, what's the day? November 12th. I think, let me just make sure we have a quorum. I think we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good, that's close enough.
Do you want me to check them off?
Okay.
Have a minute.
No, that's okay. I can do it. Thanks. But that's a good idea. So welcome everybody to the Bike Ped Subcommittee of Transportation and Parking. It's November 12th. We are hybrid format. So I'm just going to go around and identify the members of the committee that are in fact present. I will let you know. I think I mentioned already, Donna and DPW are not available today. I'm Carolyn Mish, chair of the committee. In person, we have Deb and Bruce and Nick Horton. And then online, we have James Lowenthal, Brett Constantine, and there's someone else I saw. Did I miss somebody? No, maybe not. Okay. That's it. So we are recording. Recordings go to Northampton Open Media for the future. And let me just, sorry, let one more person in. So we always start off these meetings with public comment for items that are not otherwise on the posted agenda. So I will open up the floor now for that. If anybody has comment that they would like to make, and again, public comments are taken by the committee. They don't become agenda items for that day. They may become agenda items for future days, but there's not a back and forth discussion on public comment items. So with that said, if anybody would like to raise their virtual or real hand, please go ahead. Did I see you raise your hand? Yeah. Okay. All right. I don't see any public comment, so let's go into the first agenda item, which is about a parking ordinance amendment. It's a very minor tweak to allow for the parking enforcement officers to be able to ticket cars that are parked too close to crosswalks. Right now, the ordinance says that those offending violators can only be ticketed when there's signage at the crosswalks that specify that you have to be separated by 10 feet to the crosswalk. I believe this was brought up in a series of emails with Counselor Jarrett about sort of how to make a fix to that. And because there's so many crosswalks in the city, it just didn't make sense to have that need for a sign at every single one of them on both sides of both directions of the crosswalk. And so this amendment, which I believe went to Legislative Matters last night or Monday, forget what day it is, will be going back to City Council at their next meeting, which is next Thursday, the 20th. And Counselor Jarrett can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a minor adjustment just to say it doesn't have to be signed, but the rule is the rule. So, and there's been a lot of discussion about making sure people understand what that rule is and doing education and maybe some warnings for the first several months for that. So, Counselor Jarrett, do you have anything that you want to add to that?
Hello, everyone. Thank you. I'm just here because I'm the co-sponsor and happy to answer any questions. But I think your summary was right on, so don't have anything specific to add.
Any other questions or comments? So if you are interested in the ordinance and you want to give comment, you can send that to counselors before next Thursday, the 20th. Go ahead, James.
I just want to say I'm in favor of it. And if there is, the concept of daylighting crosswalks and intersections is a well-established one in bicycle pedestrian advocacy world. And I think it's completely relevant here as it is elsewhere. It's great that we already have the rule, and it's great that we want to increase the enforceability of that rule. If there's any risk that there will be significant opposition or doubts, as this proposal goes forward, then I'd like the Bike Ped Committee to be on record saying that we support it. That's what I would propose.
Second.
I mean, yeah, I think, so discussion, I guess, is, I think that either way doesn't hurt. So if there's a motion on the floor to support that, to send a notice to city council that Bike Ped Committee supports it, we can go ahead and do that. I don't know, I haven't heard of anybody, rising up in arms opposing this modification,
They don't know.
but yeah.
Thank you, Carolyn. I really appreciated the way that this is being thought of as this is the rule, and to kind of be figuring out what that education campaign looks like and potentially warnings to transition. It doesn't make sense to be putting 4 signs up at each of these crosswalks, as you noted. I was appreciative of the city's newsletter and other outreach on the Trumbull and State Street changes, which I think are active as of today.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's a really effective way of kind of getting that word out, and I think that will be appropriate here as well.
Yeah.
But I would certainly support the motion on the floor.
Okay.
And
So
is there a motion on the floor?
I think, James, I took that as a motion and I took
Please.
Brett as a second.
Great.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't, if anybody,
No,
I
I
can
agree.
record that as being valid. So why don't we do a roll call vote? I'll start in person first. Devin,
Yes, wholly.
Nick,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
and I would support that as well. So that passes.
And it's nice that it's unanimous, and I think we ought to communicate that to the council.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you all. Appreciate that.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is to continue a discussion that's been sort of bubbling around for a little bit about strategies to regulate full electric bikes. I think throughout the city, not just on paths, but Devin brought this and wanted to have this on the agenda. So I said, great, Devin, why
Yeah.
don't I turn it over to you?
I will. I'll take it and just give the sort of umbrella version. I would like to have this discussion to see what the ideas are to improve the operation of e-bikes around town, in and among the traffic and along the side roads, and with an understanding of their use of shared use paths. And my concern is that bicycle has come to mean something really different. It's now a fat tire bike that's ridden by a throttle, doesn't have to be pedaled. The Type 2 can weigh 35, 40 pounds, go 30, 40 miles, not 40, 30, 35 miles an hour. There is a state law on the speed that they should be governed at, but it has been designed in such an easy way to clip that governor wire that I'm certain from my experience in traffic safety that these bikes are going faster than that. So I don't have any firm belief that we can just sit in a conference room and come up with a statute that regulates the use of e-bikes. But I do think we need something in the public discussion that allows us to up the education component. In my world, from highway safety, we have heavy bikes that are almost being operated like motorcycles without license, without age requirements, and without standard use. So it's becoming something that we need to grapple with. And I don't think it's as simple as getting the DPW to paint on the bike path some sort of rule. But I do think it's something that we should have a discussion about in a meaningful way. I mean, I came here on bike, George probably did too. And so I'd like to get us talking about it. And I don't want you to think that I've got it made up in my mind, although I sounded a little forceful just then. But I'd like to get something that I could carry from the Bike Ped Committee into the Transportation and Parking Commission and get the discussion there guided based on what we think should happen, and see if we can get them to take it to city council. So that's the game plan in my mind.
Okay, thanks.
Thoughts?
I'm not sure when it's appropriate for the non-committee members to weigh. Okay.
James, go ahead, James.
Yeah, thank you so much, Devin. I like the way you framed it, and I'm in agreement that it's time for us to grapple with it, and that I agree with everything you said. And my suggestion would be that we maybe have a subgroup to do research on this, because there's a lot of discussion about it at the national and international level. The League of American Bicyclists has a lot of literature and studies about this. Mass Bike has a lot about it. It's not just the state law, it's also the advocacy world. And the advocates know the issue really, really well. And some of us are here in the room today, although I'm not prepared to come up with a firm statement with detailed recommendations. But I think we should avail ourselves of the broader wisdom that is developing. And I'm happy to play a role in that. So I guess my suggestion would be, let's get a subgroup together to compile the available information and recommendations from the leadership that the advocates generally look to. And I'm sure there are others in addition to the ones that I mentioned.
I think that's a fine suggestion. It would be up to Carolyn to bless that. One thing I have been reading about, but it is a research assignment, is to find out what other cities have done. You're hearing of restrictions being imposed, and it's not at the state level, it's at the city level, because it's more local than that. The traffic pattern you're in matters. But I would be willing to sit on that committee. I'd love, you are much more connected to the advocates than I am. And Carolyn, how do you feel about that?
I mean, I would be fine with that. You probably want maybe at least 3 people. But I mean, it could be 2 if the 2 of you just want to hash it out. But
And
I would like to invite George, who started me on this path, to see if he would join me as a citizen.
well, I mean, you could have officially a subcommittee, too, and then invite anybody you want.
Gary, you got time?
No, but thank you. I think it's an important issue, but
Well said.
So that is fine. So I think there are a couple other people who are not part of the Bike Ped committee that have interest in making a statement. This Alex Bowman, I don't know if your hand is raised for this item or another one.
This one.
Okay.
True enforcement can't be everywhere. The most powerful tool we have, unfortunately, is shared social pressure, a culture of courtesy and respect among trail users. I really think a public campaign here would do more to improve safety and than creating some enforcement mechanisms that will then not get enforced. I truly do support addressing the unsafe and inconsiderate e-moto use on our trails, but I also want to protect people who bike and addressing the unsafe and inconsiderate drivers on our roads, because we already have speed limits, we have passing distance laws, we've got these illegal lifted trucks and wide tires that we just don't enforce today. So while I agree, I think we need to keep this issue in perspective. Northampton, I'm mostly speaking here about the rail trails. We have roughly 83 miles of sidewalk and many miles of walking trails. None are suitable for bicycle or e-mobility transportation. We only have about 11 miles of rail trails and maybe 5 miles of disconnected on-street bike lanes. Most streets that are trying to get you places are really stressful still for people biking or using small vehicles. So I just worry about the effect of creating regulation around e-bikes and the negative impact that will have. I don't even ride an e-bike, but I know that they're useful tools in this this push towards sustainability. And what we're doing is we're forcing the way we've designed our road systems today, we're forcing all of our bike and e-moto traffic onto a few shared trails, where pedestrians are already feeling crowded by faster users. We've got many residents who don't drive, and expanding safe, connected bike routes benefits everyone. And it's not, I just want to make sure that we are focusing on that, because that is really going to more do a better job solving this problem than creating regulations. And I still, as I said over a year ago, I still think the 12 miles per hour is absurdly slow as a speed limit for any e-assist on our rail trails. So I just hope we can fix the system and the culture before punishing the people that are trying to make it work. And I do know
Thanks,
that there are
Alex.
some inconsiderate people, and I do think that a campaign a courtesy campaign would do a great deal at addressing this.
Thanks, Alex.
James?
Yeah, George, did you have a comment? Do you want to make?
So yeah, I'd be more than happy to accept an invitation to join this ad hoc subcommittee group as a citizen. Because yeah, we've been concerned about it for a while. The Friends of Northampton Trails, we get a lot of comments from users about the growing popularity of e-bikes. And so what I'm mostly concerned about is the industry is really ramping up their marketing of bikes and the kinds of bikes that they're marketing to young people. I'm also very concerned as we as a city try to urge the DPW to create more shared bike lanes, not shared bike lanes, but separated bike lanes, that if the class 3 bikes start using those, it'll become really problematic. Not only on the outside streets of the city, but downtown, especially as we look at. So I think it's really important that we get out in front of it somehow. I appreciate the previous speaker about regulations, but I think we need to have something on the books that can be pointed to. Right, enforcement is going to be very difficult. But I think we need to have some language there that says class 1 and class 2, these are the do's and don'ts, and class 3, these are your do's and don'ts, just so that we can point to that if push really comes to shove with some of the users. So yeah, count me in on helping out.
Okay, I'm gonna go to James, and then I'll go back this.
Thanks. Yeah, in response to Alex Bowman's comments, thank you. And I appreciate everything you said, and I agree with the great majority of it. While this topic came to us today in the form of explore strategies for regulation, I guess my hope would be that our subcommittee could look at the broader picture first, and then following our information gathering, make whatever appropriate conclusions there are to be made about regulation and education campaign and enforcement, whatever the various aspects are.
Yeah.
Without predetermined,
Great, thanks.
to be just regulation.
Okay, go ahead.
Alex, I wanted to speak back to you about regulation. I don't have any belief that we're going to regulate behavior in general, so I agree with you about that. I did want to say to you that I had a conversation with the police chief, because every year the police department applies for grants to get special hot button items, like maybe they're focusing on cell phone use or whatever the topic is that they're proposing. And he and I talked about if this could be a topic that he would put in for. He wasn't wild about the idea, but I think it's got possibility. And so I do think it is leaning towards an education campaign. That's what those are designed to do for the police department, is pick a topic that you think you want to be concerned with, get some extra money to tackle those issues. And so we'll pursue that. I'll go back to him and have another conversation.
Thanks. So, Brett, and then I'll come back to in person here.
Thanks. I appreciate all the comments so far. I would agree that the main focus should be on education and community rallying around a topic, but so that we're all on the same page about it, more so anyway. But I think that there are some merits to having some basic rules on the books as well, keeping them, as simple and broad as possible. So that if like some were saying, if if the police are contacted about an issue, then they can have a rule to actually look to, rather than saying, well, we can't do anything because there's nothing to do here, that no rules are broken. So I think something that's enforceable, but not so overly particular might be my preference, but I'll defer to what the subcommittee comes up with in terms of recommendations. Thanks.
Thanks, Brett.
Pressure on this, okay.
Yeah. So we have a person
Yeah,
in person. You
yes.
want to introduce
So,
yourself?
yeah,
Great, thanks.
and I'd like to echo a lot of what Alex said. I do think this is a relatively new problem. It's only going to get worse as these, particularly Class 2 e-bikes, get lower in price. And something I'd like the committee to keep in mind is that in a lot of cases, these are not people coming from the bike culture. These are people who are using these as car replacements. So they don't have the background of understanding cycling and behavior in cycling. And these tend to be sometimes less affluent people. So the situation we've seen in Lowell, people riding on the sidewalks where most cyclists would know not to do that. So I would just ask the committee to be very careful, because you may be even targeting a specific group here that just doesn't know any better. So
Thanks, Chuck.
thank you.
Thanks. Okay, let's take one more comment on this, because I think we decided that we're not
Okay.
going to decide anything today. Chris Stratton, if you want to go ahead with a comment.
Hi, Chris Stratton, Redford Drive in Northampton. One of the things that really stands out to me about this is that, this is a conversation sort of about what not to do, and it doesn't really address what one should do. And a lot of our bike policy sort of focuses on building special spaces, but the design speed of a lot of these special spaces is really, really slow. I mean, we talk about 12 miles an hour on the rail trail. From personal experience, 16 to 17 on the rail trail pedaling, that's pretty fast, and you get into some surprise issues. And anything that's parallel to a road corridor, I would argue the design speed of intersections is not even 6 miles an hour, because there's just so much potential for surprise there with other traffic. So when you get people, as was just mentioned, who buy a motorized bicycle, that's class 3 or even something completely off the books like a Suron or something, often they are not coming from a cycling background, and they're not really aware of what the actual danger to using a bicycle is. I mean, that it's really not the car behind you, it's the intersections and the surprises. And so often people like that are most attracted to, abusing a sidewalk, which is illegal for any class of e-bike statewide, or using the rail trail in a way that's not really, safe around pedestrians, or, as I think George actually said, using a separated bike lane or in a way that's not really safe at that speed. And we haven't really made any effort to guide, discussion of what does on-road usage of a bicycle look like. I mean, a whole lot of Northampton, doesn't have bike facilities and never will. And even in places where there is an off-road option, if you're going 30 miles an hour, I'm sorry, but you're traffic and you belong on the road. I mean, I would argue that's actually true at 15 miles an hour, but it's very clear to everyone at 30. And so, we haven't had the mutual education between either bicyclists or drivers. We haven't talked about how that 4-foot law, in combination with a lot of our 12-foot roadways, means that it's just illegal to pass a bike until you can safely see to use the oncoming lane, no matter, how far to the edge the bike squeeze themselves and risks, surprising someone coming out of a driveway. And when the road's 12 feet wide, you can only pass when you can see to use the oncoming lane. And we haven't really talked about how we fit either pedal bikes or especially motorized bikes into our ordinary flow of traffic citywide. So, I agree regulation is not going to solve this, but I think we really need to start talking about public education of what are the modes of usage that actually work? Because yeah, a bike with a motor on it, you know, when you're talking about 4 to 5 miles into town, that makes all sorts of sense. We just need to fit it into our, you know, our the society of our roads, if I can call it that, in a way that's actually safe. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Okay, so just a note on process for subcommittees. As a subcommittee, officially, you should be posting your notices 48 hours ahead of when you're going to meet. So
What if you called it an ad hoc committee? Isn't there some language there where?
I mean, if it's officially, I can look into that, but just sort of heads up that, well, obviously you want to, I mean, the other piece, of course, is reporting back. So
I think we would
yeah.
report back, and I think we would meet off schedule, and if there is a requirement to post it, I'll do that. But I think George is right. To get together to discuss a topic where we're not taking any votes,
Yeah.
doesn't seem like we would have to do that, but you
Okay.
can find out.
Okay. I will confirm.
And I would agree with George, that it's a big issue, so I think the subcommittee will try to have some open public forums
Yeah.
to get people involved and let the word kind of get out that we're looking at that.
Yeah.
We've tried to do that as much as possible. So that's more work on the ad hoc committee, but it'll certainly be worthwhile.
Yeah, it certainly, we wouldn't have something between now and the holidays, but it'd take us longer than that just to get it ready and organized.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Great. All right. So let's move on.
Can you pick up Gwen or?
Sure. Gwen, last comment before we move on to the next item.
Okay, I just want to say hi, and then I'm here and I'm listening to the conversation, and I'm just thinking recently the housing partnership we did, we did a thing like a resource list or whatever, and we decided not to do a subcommittee because otherwise, it just gets to be too much. So we kind of worked on it from our own angles, and then we came together in the public meeting and presented what we had, and there were no decisions to be made or anything like that. But I also want to say I think this is great that you guys are talking about this, and I think surveys are awesome. And if there's a survey of any kind that you want to go out, I would support it. And so that's it. And probably a lot of what Chris said. And I'm not a bicyclist, so and I'm just here to listen. Thank you.
Thanks, Gwen.
It's Gwen on housing.
Housing partnership.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next item is a discussion about sort of where we are, updates, the Complete Streets Prioritization Plan that was submitted in the middle to end of 2022 to MassDOT. And so I think for that, I'll screen share the map of where those Complete Streets priorities are, but let me just set up this discussion first. This is a specific program. The Complete Streets program is a specific program through Mass Department of Transportation, where they have small dollar grants to give to cities to make improvements towards creating streets that accommodate all users of all abilities. So from cradle to grave, in all mobility modes, from motorized vehicles to non-motorized vehicles to pedestrians, roller strollers, what have you. So in order to be eligible for this program, you first must have an adopted prioritization plan in a format that MassDOT is very specific about. And so we had the program goes back to about 2014, 2015. We had done a plan back then. Then once you have a plan, then you are eligible, and MassDOT helps you pay for the plan. Once you have a plan, then you're eligible to apply for dollars to implement the plan, whether it's full design of something that's been identified as one of your priorities, or then you can also apply for actual implementation. So it may be construction, it may just be striping, it may be signage. The idea is you have each community who's part of the program, that's part of the program, has a certain dollar amount over, I think it's a 5-year window. So it used to be you get $500,000 to expend on implementation across, I think it's a 5-year window. Could have been, it might be 3. They've just recently upped that minimum. I think it's gone up to $1 million now, but I have to double check that. But this is after, 10 years of being at 500,000. So, and nothing costs $500,000 anymore. So at any rate, just sort of to set the context. So what that means, and basically as part of the prioritization plan, MassDOT wants to see 20 projects that sort of rise to the top, and you do this very detailed public engagement process to come up with the top 20 priorities. And then you can only seek implementation funding for those things that are on your plan. So you might have 1,000 other projects that you want to do that are also complete streets, but you can't apply to the complete streets funding bucket unless it's on your plan. So when we updated our plan in 2022, we actually there were, of course, as you can imagine, far more than 20 priorities. So the matrix that it was and the plan posted on our website, I think it goes up to 50, but I'll check. But so far more than 20 are on there because we just want to have a pool of things that the community has said, this is what we need to work on. So Sean and some others had asked for an update on where we were because we just received a grant, a notice of the grant for the Locust Street project just a 3-4 weeks ago. And so the question came up, well, where are we in sort of implementation? So I am going to share the map. If I can find it. I can't find it. Hold on a second. Nope. I just had it up here. Sorry. Oh, here we go. Share. Okay, so let me zoom out a little bit. So this is a map showing all the, it's over here, 20 plus. I think it goes up to, this map shows 35. We have more than that of the segments and the priorities identified in the plan. So for today's discussion, I can run through the top 20 because those are the ones that the official ones that went to MassDOT that they will fund and give an update. Or if someone, and as we go along, I'd be happy to go into more detail, and we can certainly have Q&A on this.
So the green boxes are each a project.
Yes, it's showing up green on there. So it's
That's-
numbered.
Yeah, that's
I
what I was
can
after,
zoom
what's in the box.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and I will come over here a little bit. So, and the other color coding is based on the type of project. Is it pedestrian only? Is it bicycle facility, etc. So,
It seems for you to go through 20 different project discussions. Now I realize I'm concerned about time more than
okay.
most, but I'm wondering if I loved your introduction, and I've been hearing about complete streets for 14 years.
Yeah.
But I think maybe your characterization of the projects, you know them intimately, might be the first high level. I'm not trying to change your approach, but I'm just thinking what you think about these sets of projects might be more of interest.
Okay. Yeah. So I think
I've got some knitted eyebrows around the table.
Well, the request came in as sort of a status update.
Okay.
So,
Carry on.
if we don't have enough time, I mean, maybe we can go through the top 10 and then we could do 10 at another meeting. If you want to do it that way, is fine. Or we can start and see. Yeah. Well, so let's just start with the number one priority. Is New South Street and bicycle lanes. And this will give you an idea. So in 2022, this was really about striping. So this is number one here is shown.
Isn't number one on Prospect Avenue?
You got it. We got the numbers mixed up. The maps aren't. You know, this is funny because I think there were some typos. And South Street is not. It is. I don't know why this is number 29, but I'm just going to show you here. This is South Street, and it's supposed to go all the way. Number one is here, but that's not the number one.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that maybe what happened is when we finalized the actual prioritization, the map got redone. So I guess for that, good point. Let's not look at the numbers, and I'll tell you it's number 10 on the map or number 29 on the map. But the first ranked priority was striping bike lanes from New South Street all the way down South Street. And so it was really just especially over the bridges. So from bridge to bridge, basically. So the South Street Bridge here. And we've heard that through TPC and requests for traffic calming and ways to adjust that. So this is sort of broken into two phases, this priority. One of them is in the process of becoming a TIP project. So DPW has already started with looking at designing and building because South Street's falling apart from the bridge over the Mill River coming into town to the bridge, the intersection of New South and that bridge across the bike path. So that's one thing that's moving forward. We have stopped because that's sort of on pause. We haven't continued the process, but again, the TIP process is years long. But because it's such an expensive project, it really is a TIP level project. And so that means it gets put into the queue with all the other projects around the region. So we've started that. The other part of this priority project is the section actually from the bridge into Main Street. And so that will be part of the Picture Main Street redesign. There will be a separated bike lane on one side, on the eastbound side into downtown to connect to the facility on Main Street. This recommendation also talked about creating a bike lane on the west side, which would mean elimination of parking spaces. So that conversation hasn't taken place. But anyway, I just wanted to update that this is broken into sort of two pieces now. Any questions on that from committee members? Okay. James, go ahead.
Yes, Carolyn, I guess my question is maybe not specifically about exactly what you just said about the South Street project, but more generally, can you remind us how the prioritization happened? And is there anything that we can tell from this map before you go through 20 of them to tell us which are the other priorities? And as you're speaking, I'm thinking, okay, one of my favorite long bugaboos for 20 years has been State Street. And I see that's number 31 on here, and it's right across from South Street. And it'll also touch on Picture Main Street. But I can't tell from the map, given that the numbers were wrong, whether that's in our top 20 or not. Maybe you could just remind us even up to the top 20.
Yeah. So, priority 2 was bike lanes on Bridge Street. Priority 3 is downtown bicycle parking. Priority 4 were bike lanes on Elm Street. Priority 5, State Street traffic calming, which includes intersection traffic calming at intersections. Number 6, Locust Street bike lanes. Number 7, a sort of separated creation of a parallel route downtown. So from Market Street and North Street, from Holyoke to Woodmont, where you can get onto the bike path. There's sort of a demarcation in the street, lane striping of an alternative route through downtown on the neighborhood streets. Was 7. Number 8 is West Street and 66, or right at the Forbes Library, that crosswalk.
Will it go down as far as the skate path, the skate park?
That one was just about the intersection crossing there at West Street and Green Street. Number 9, parking lot wayfinding to connect to and from the downtown to the shared use path. So Northampton, New Haven, and MCRT. 10, Florence Street sidewalks. I'm sorry, Florence Road sidewalks. My bad. Florence Road sidewalks from basically Indian Hill down to Pine Street. 11, another State Street project. So sidewalks, but sidewalk connection on the west side of State Street. 12, Bridge Road bike lanes. 13, Main Street bicycle improvements. And this was just shared lanes or sharrows on Main Street in downtown Florence. So Main Street, Florence, sorry. 14, safety improvements at all shared use path crossings with the crosswalk symbols, particularly so on the 3 shared use path connections, the Mass Central, New Haven, Northampton, and the new Rocky Hill Greenway. Improvements at North Elm and Prospect Street up by Cooley Dickinson. Number 16, South Main Street and Locust and Trinity Row, a sidewalk there on the west side. 17, RRFB at Locust and Straw. 18, Jackson Street sidewalks going from the school north to Bridge Road. 19, Gothic Street improvements. Just this is a sidewalk and pedestrian crosswalk around Gothic and Allen Place. 20 is Nonotuck and South Main Street crossing. So that intersection just beyond the high school as you're going out Nonotuck. So those are the 20. So yes, there are several, and really the map sort of shows that all those different numbers, even though they're the wrong numbers, show all the different priorities. So go ahead, Devin.
I asked about West Street because I feel rather certain we're going to spend 600,000 on CPA money to put a pump park next to the skate park.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to get a lot more bike traffic from the library down to the bottom of the hill.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Just to mention
Okay.
it, I think that's a new development.
Okay. And that is on this list, so it was going to give an update. There's been a lot of conversation with Smith College on how to make that more of a gateway, slow down traffic sort of from the west as a gateway corridor at each of the crossings. So already there are 2 RFBs, I think, on West Street. So I think things have shifted since this prioritization plan, and that there will probably be more on West Street, as is the case for some of these other locations. So, Alex, did you have a quick comment before I move on?
Yeah, I was just wondering, is there any public program or product management documents that show high-level status and potential conservative start dates and easy
No.
to see changes or updates that we could look at?
No.
And then my other questions were, if these were to be reprioritized, how would that happen? And how would you go about adding items to this so that they are eligible for funding?
I think that we probably would not do my recommendation would be that we don't spend time reprioritizing these items. We go through, we see what we've done, and there are many more than these 20 that were already identified. There are also many more projects that the city, this is just one little tool for this sliver of funding from MassDOT. And there are many other projects that the city has identified and will continue to identify that we will still seek funding for, but probably not complete streets. So I don't know that it makes sense to spend time and effort just to reprioritize this list.
So is there a master project list? I mean, I guess I'm trying to figure out, if this is only complete streets and there's other stuff, how can we see the complete list that we're looking at?
So there are sort of two, I don't know that there's a publicly available list at the moment of the projects that DPW has lined up, but there is a working document that's a 5-year, 10-year plan kind of thing. And I will leave that up to DPW to sort of frame and pull together and roll out as DPW sees fit to do. This question here was specifically about this program, so that's why we're running through this list. Okay.
So if I might just real quickly, it's a great list. It seems like some of those are being attacked already.
Yes.
Maybe by the DPW. I'm thinking of the sidewalk work they're doing on Florence Road now from
Yep,
Florence Heights
exactly.
down.
Yep.
So, and without probably complete streets money, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Where they would have to get complete streets money once they've got the idea of what they're gonna do.
Yeah, or I mean, for example, so Locust Street, we just got that.
Yeah.
That project is far bigger than $500,000. And so there will be other money going into that. And that's the kind of thing that sometime, I mean, and inclusive, the high school project too was an example of that, where there's not going to be complete streets money, but there were identified issues in the prioritization that this area was needed to be addressed. And so we sometimes can piggyback complete streets money, like in the Locust Street plan, we're using $500,000, but the rest of the money for the entire project is going to be other funds, we'll utilize other funds.
From my experiences, it comes in different forms. You go to the capital improvement program, you go to
Yep.
complete streets, you go to the mayor's list from the DPW of all the streets they're paving this year.
Yep.
So I haven't run into a master list because there's so many different sources of funding that guide the development of those lists.
Right, and sometimes even if priority is, might be number 5, it might get bumped up to 2 because there's money coming from a specific pot that can only address that thing that's in that project. And so now that becomes shuffled in the order. So I can quickly just like James, thanks for expediting this. I can quickly run through sort of quick updates on this for the ones that we haven't talked about, and then I can pitch answers. But basically, some of the bike lanes, some of these are going to be based or come after the Picture Main Street project. So the bike lane connector between Bridge Street, where Picture Main Street ends, and where the bike lanes pick up again, even though that was ranked 2, that's, will come after we figure out we could not tie it into the Picture Main Street project. Bicycle parking, we've obviously completed that. That was number 3. The Elm Street bike lanes are striping bike lanes in both directions from Cooley Dickinson to Smith College. They're with striping the gaps that are there. So part of that and included the high school. So that design is in process. Will not be using, the funny thing is it's $290,000 on this estimate. And because of all the other things that will be addressed with that, it's going to be far more than $290,000. State Street traffic calming is in process. I don't know, Nick, were you the one saying that the stop signs are going in today? They're live now. So part of that has to do with looking, actually DPW did hired a consultant to look at the entire corridor and look at bump out curb extensions at various locations, including at Center and State. That of course then moves into the need for addressing drainage. And so in some cases, the stop signs are sort of the first step. So at the critical crash intersections or at-risk intersections, there's another program at MassDOT that will help support the installation of 4-way stops. So we've done that in a couple locations on State Street. And then sort of moving to Locust Street, we talked a little bit about, that's in process with this funding. And it's not $510,000 as estimated. Let's see. And as I mentioned before, the West Street crossing, we're currently we've had a lot of discussions with Smith College about how to address that. The first step was the RRFBs, but we have talked about curb extensions at West Street. So I think I would say that's still in process. Florence Road, as George noted, sidewalks on Florence Road, that's out to bid now. So those are should be done within the next year because we're sort of late in the season, but that's moving forward. And State Street sidewalk on the west side will be one of those things in phases as part of the redevelopment of the St. Mary's Church, 3 Elm Street. That project will result in adding sidewalks for a portion of that west side of State Street. So then the gap will be much smaller. So that's in process. Bridge Road bike lanes have not been addressed, but that could be a part of a restriping program. So again, maybe not complete streets funding, but we've identified these as priorities. So we look for opportunities when other road projects are happening to go ahead and accomplish some of these things. We've done as part of both the Rocky Hill Greenway, so the safety improvements at the rail trail crossings. This last year when the MCRT was rebuilt, those crosswalks are now have been addressed, and then there'll be a new crosswalk now under construction as part of the Rocky Hill Greenway at Ice Pond Road, which is where this was identified. There'll be a rapid rectangular flashing beacon at that crossing as well. So that's in process. And let's see. Oh, the Locust Street RFB is part of the Locust Street plan. So Straw Avenue, that will have an RFB. So that takes care of that priority.
Shirley, real quickly, you're saying
Yep.
RFB as in bids versus RFP as in?
RRFB, I'm just rolling it together. Rapid rectangular flashing beacon.
Wow. Thank you.
And I can't say that more than once in a sentence or else it'll just get
A
garbled.
rapid rectangular flashing beacon, RRFB.
Yes.
Okay, it's a new one. Thank you.
So it's the push button pedestrian
Yeah.
flash. And then Nonotuck Street, South Main Street, so priority 20, South Main crossing, street of Nonotuck. We actually had further detailed study. Pioneer Valley Planning Commission came out last year and did an in-depth study about all the safety issues around that intersection and made further recommendations. We have not acted upon that, but I think that was really helpful to gather that additional data. And it had partially been addressed with a painted, you all probably remember when a painted bump out or curb extension to create more of a right turn at South Main and Nonotuck was with the plastic flexible bollards. So that was sort of a step in that direction, and then PVPC came in and did some more detailed research for us. So that tops out at 20. So in process on more than half of these, if not some of them being completed. James, go ahead.
Thank you so
I'm gonna
much,
stop screen
Carolyn. This
sharing.
was really helpful, and Sean will be really sorry he missed it, but we'll tell him the news. I do. It does. I think maybe channeling Sean and echoing his comments last time. It does raise the question: shouldn't we have a policy where every such project does actually come before Bike Ped for us to look at it before it gets implemented? For example, I don't remember talking about State Street crosswalk implementation, and I was surprised to see it happening this morning myself. And I'm delighted. It's great. But as the Bike Ped Committee, I think we are in a good position to weigh in and to advise on, and therefore we have to know about the projects as they come. So it's very helpful to see this comprehensive list, and every one of them sparks many memories of many discussions. But I don't remember seeing Locust Street come before us, which is what prompted Sean's original comment. And I don't remember State Street stop sign coming before us. Might have missed it. Apologies if that's the case. But just wonder if we can regularize, make it more accessible to us, the Bike Ped Committee, the information about which projects are in which state of design, development, implementation. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think just to answer your question quickly, the sort of regular updates from a DPW or requests for feedback have been part of this conversation, and that along with there's another project that's happening, Bedford Terrace intersection with State Street, will include narrowing that throat. That has come, and I may be mistaken, I know at least TPC has talked about that, and I think Donna brought that to Bike Ped, as well as the conversations about the four-way stop program that DPW was pursuing for several intersections in the city. So I don't know if you missed that, but I think DPW has been pretty good about bringing the proposed, and just so you know, the Locust Street, builds off of what was in this complete streets prioritization about sort of what to do with this, plus the traffic calming requests that come in the interim about Straw Avenue, about Locust Street, plus the engineering firm that Donna has hired to look at multiple locations in the city have fed into the concept, and that concept plan was what was brought last time. So it's not the design isn't complete, that for Locust Street, but that's in process, and that's why it was brought to the committee. So thanks. Go ahead, Brett.
Yeah, thanks. I think I don't have particular problem with DPW's process, but because I go to the TPC meetings almost all the time, and almost all of these issues have come through there, but TPC never or almost never asks us for advice. And that's, to me, seems a shame, because we are a subcommittee of theirs, and isn't that what we're for, is to advise them, not to, technically we're supposed to advise them, not make direct comments to city council, et cetera, et cetera. So I would really love to see more TPC asking Bike Ped for guidance and recommendations. I think that's what this subcommittee was created for, long time ago, well before my time. And I think we should do more of that. And I don't know how to help that happen.
Well, I can certainly pass that message along to the committee. I think it makes sense for particularly complicated issues, but I think when I'm not sure that even with a four-way stop, when the multiple studies have sort of looked and at that, and then there's been various studies looked at the State Street corridor, that might not have risen to the level where TPC might have said, you know what, we're not sure about this. We think Bike Ped should weigh in on it. But I think that's just one example, but I hear what you're saying. Thanks. Any other committee members on this before I go to J Phone? Okay. J Phone, you're up. Do you have a comment? Okay.
J Phone, come on.
All right. So, any other comments on this? And sort of, and we'll certainly, we can continue to update as these projects move forward. Okay. Next on the agenda is our office updates, and I thought I had something, so now after all this yammering, I don't know if I remembered. I should have taken the notes from that. But I don't think I have anything huge. Again, we're still sort of in construction for Rocky Hill Greenway. We, in terms of bike share, just as an update, we've just submitted a grant application to fund operations for the next 2 years to MassDOT, because the legislature actually voted to release money from the Fair Share Act this summer, particularly for micro transit and last and first mile transit. So that money for across the Commonwealth is available for under sort of competitive grant requests to be used for programs across the Commonwealth. And one of the things that they particularly were focused on is supporting bike share across Massachusetts, as well as other microtransit, so vans, smaller vehicles to reach further. So that's exciting that there is fair share money for that, because most of the money now, I think, is going to be from the state more than from federal government. So.
And if I might, I think part of that is due to there was a great visit here by legislators during the summer, and you took them on a little tour on Valley Bikes, which really kind of opened up the eyes of some of them who hadn't been on Valley Bikes before, or share bikes. The other piece of news around Valley Bikes is they've moved their operational center from Holyoke back to Florence, right?
Yes. Yep.
So they're closer to our stations.
Right. Okay. I think last on the agenda is really to talk about, James brought this up about meeting times, that this wasn't so it's didn't work out so well for him and maybe for others. So I know that on the fly, we might not be able to find a good time and day, but I'd be willing to hear what folks think about that. James, do you want to identify sort of what works better for you?
In general, first thing in the morning works better for me.
And what does that mean, first thing?
We used to meet at 7:30, but anytime before 10, most Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays is easier than this time.
Okay.
What's the other college professor? What you said?
So for me, Wednesdays would work within that.
Okay. Yeah, it might be nice to keep at least Wednesdays as if we're changing times. I know we changed it a couple of times. Did we lose a quorum? Brett, do you have any comments about time? Okay, what I'll do is I'll just send out an email and ask, especially, Donna and Maggie aren't here and Sean. Yeah. Okay, great. Well, thank you for bringing that forward, James, and we'll see what we can do about that. All right, any other items of business before we close?
I was going to move to adjourn, so.
I just want to make a general announcement that the Friends of Northampton Trails is having their annual meeting coming up on December 2nd. So at 7 o'clock down at the Arts Center on Holly Street. It's going to be a fun night, so I want all my bike and pedestrian friends to show up. Thank you very much.
It's okay.
7 p.m.
7 p.m.
December 2nd.
December
33
2nd,
Holly.
33 Holly, you got it.
I got an email saying 6:30.
Well, yes, that's the smoozing time. It really
Oh.
is 6:30. And you're a great smoozer, so you get there early.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, is there a second? I
Second.
see that, James, second. Okay, so
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
okay, and I will also say yes. So thank you, appreciate it. See you next time.
Good to see you.